had started. Okay. Now we're going to go into, let's get this back a little bit. Now we're going to go into eyeshadow colors. So I'm going to be using two palettes. I'm trying to kind of match the colors in the palette that Nate is using. So I'm going to be starting out with the Naked 2 Basics because that is going to be my transition shade. And then I will be going over to the Milani Most Wanted in Rosy Revenge, which is somewhat of a dupe for the Dose of Colors Marvelous Mauves, but it's so pretty. I love purples. I am a purple gal. I love this palette. Alright, so the problem with this palette, however, is that it doesn't really have a shade that I want to use to kind of start transitioning things into the eyebrow area. So that's why I'm going with the Naked 2. You can see it is much loved, very much loved. So for a transition shade, you want it to be 1 to 2 shades darker than your skin. So I'm going to be going in. I'm going to use that same brush if I can find it. I'm going to use that same fluffy brush. And I'm going into Frisk is the name of that. So it's going to be this one that has more than hit pan there. Because it's just a perfect shade, honestly. It is. This is easily the one palette I've gotten the most use out of. I love this palette. It is so great for people who want to do kind of no makeup looks or more subdued makeup, who have very fair, cool toned skin, neutral to cool toned, which is me. So, alright. So, I've kind of rubbed it in there a good bit. And going back to my mirror here. And once again, I'm looking down. And I'm going to start kind of over here. And we're going to do windshield wiper movements. So just very softly, and hold your brush pretty far down. You don't want to accidentally like jab this into your eye. You want it to be very soft, not incredibly precise, because this is the shade that's going to make it easier to blend. Let's get my hand out of the way. Whew. To blend your purple shadows up and get a nice gradient there. So you can kind of see I'm swabbing that around in there again, tapping off any excess, looking down, because when I'm looking down like that, my eyelid is flat. And once again, not being horribly precise. And just going back and forth there. And one thing about blending, it is boring. It takes so long to do. But I'm gonna leave it in this video, honestly, because I haven't had to very strictly blend stuff for a while. And since this is a video for someone who hasn't done makeup really before, I want to give a realistic expectation of just how long you're going to be sitting there doing this. It's going to be a very long time. Okay, so we have that transition shade in. Gonna do a little more blending. Alright, so the purple that you're going in with looks like it's kind of a foiled purple, or at least that's what it looks like on Elsa's eyes. So I have a nice shimmery sort of purple. Ooh, right there is beautiful. That's what I'm going to be using to go in on my lid. But first, what brush should you be using for this? You want to use a flat brush. So this is, I don't think you have this one from Eco Tools. I know you have one of the dual-ended ones. But you want a brush that is flatter than it is wide, and for it to have that kind of nice dome shape is good. The reason you want it to be flat is because it'll pack on a lot of color without you having to do that back and forth motion a whole lot. So, but I want to start kind of with my inner corner, and I'll go not quite a third of the way. And I'll do that on both, and then I'm going to go in with that nice sparkly purple. So instead, I'm going to pick probably this color, I think. Or, you know what? Let's not. Let's go with the lighter pink. I'm going to go with that to put in my inner corner. So, showing you here, I'm going into that shadow and just petting it, basically. Gonna tap off the excess and go into that third part of my eye. Inner third part. Not that I have a third eye. I'm so sorry my hand keeps getting in the way of this camera. It's frustrating me too. But I'm super, I can't see, so. Alright. And this is where eyeshadow on this eye is going to be real tricky because I can't close it and look at what I'm doing unless I'm like squinting it. So, hope for the best. So the reason I'm only doing it on that inner corner is because I want that purple to really stick, and I want it to like be right on top of that eyeshadow primer and concealer. So you have two options here. You can continue to use the flat brush, which I would kind of recommend because that lets you be a lot more precise. What I like to do with shadows like this is I will use my finger, dip directly into the shadow, and then kind of blend from the lash line up. The reason I don't recommend it right now is because you can get real messy real quick. So slowly building up with a flat brush is going to be better. So going in to that purpley shade, tapping off the little extra bit, and let's see if I can do this without blocking the camera entirely. What's really helpful for me right now, what's keeping my hand steady, is that my elbow is on my vanity. If that is not an option that you have, like put your pinky on your face or like steady your hand with your other hand. A pinky on the face is good when you're doing stuff like on the same side. So just a tip. So, oh, that's dark. Look at that. So I'm starting right in the center here. Whoop. And blocking the camera as I do. I'm gonna keep going in with it because I want this to really be a statement. So I'm slowly bringing it up. If you have downturned eyes the way that I do, what I tend to do is I will take those darker colors and just kind of pull them straight out, which will look a little different when you're, you know, looking down. So let's see if I can approximate that a little bit, because I don't want to pull it out too far right now because my outer V color is going to go there. But so I'm starting like at the top of the actual eyeball and just slowly and carefully, just a straight line. I'm stopping where my eyebrow naturally ends. So you can pull it out further than that if you're really going for that kind of cartoon effect, like not in a bad way, but you know what I mean. If you want a more dramatic, exaggerated effect. But I'm not confident enough to do that myself, so here I am. And then instead of pulling that all the way down, you want to pull it in an angle from wherever you stopped to just past the corner of your eye, because we're going to be pulling this underneath the eye as well. So And you see, I've started to just hint that underneath. All right. So I'm going to leave this alone now. I'm going to try to replicate it on the other eye. Part of the reason that I'm telling you to tap off the excess is to help prevent fallout, because even though it'll be easier to clean up at this stage, it's still a pain, and I don't want to. So, oh, and this is the eye where I can see nothing. So I'm tilting my head way far back, so my eye is basically almost closed. Because with such a dark shade, I do not want to accidentally just cover my lid to my brow in it, you know? So, tilted way far up, and once again I'm starting in the center. And I'm pulling it up about where my eye socket is. So another note, if you're doing the kind of wedge like I did over here, you don't want to do that with like a fresh dip into the eyeshadow. That way lies disaster. So I haven't dipped in a little bit, so I'm pulling that as straight out as I can. Another issue that I have, that I had even before the Bell's palsy, is that my eyes are different shapes. Like literally I have astigmatism in both eyes, so they're different footballish shapes. But the Bell's palsy has certainly made that a lot more pronounced. And I am going from where I've done that down to the corner of my eye and slightly across the lower lid. It's not entirely even, so I'm going to try real quick, but in the words of like every makeup person I have ever seen in my life, they're sisters, not twins. Things don't have to be exactly symmetrical. Because not only are my eyes different shapes, my eyebrows arch differently. Alright, let's... Changing the lighting. Okay, because this is... Okay. Sorry. I'm very easily amused. Alright. So I've got that. That's all well and good. So I'm going to go in with that fluffy brush again to kind of blend a little bit, but clean the fluffy brush. To do that, sometimes I'll scrub it like on my shirt if I'm not wearing the clothes I'm going to be wearing. I'm using a microfiber cloth now. I'll just lightly scrub it so it will deposit all of the eyeshadow, all of the product that's already on it, onto the thing. So clean fluffy brush. Fluffy brushes are for blending. So once again, holding it way down here, and this is where I'm going to inevitably have to block the camera because I don't want this dark color coming up further. I don't want to look like I have a black eye, basically. So instead of placing it down here and blending like this, I'm going to be going in from the top and blending downwards on both eyes. So once again, hold far back, soft windshield wiper movements. So right now I'm just starting on the inside, lifting, inside, going out. And it's starting to very softly diffuse that, if you can see. So I'm gonna scrub it a little more and start working on the other eye as well. Oof, the lighting situation is dire. So, holding above, I'm raising my eyebrows to kind of straighten that canvas since it droops and folds. I usually have music or something going and I'll sing along, but since I'm not doing a fast cut of this, now this one I am just doing flat out windshield wiper movements. Why am I doing it differently? I have no idea. Alright, that's not awful. We're gonna be blending it out more, but I want to get in our other colors first. So going back to the flat brush, because we're laying out flatter colors. I think I'm gonna go in with this pink. It's kind of mid-tone pink. And this time I'm just tapping my brush. I'm not straight out, you know, petting it. And then going in, and I want to softly, I'm barely touching my eye for this. Starting in the corner and stopping just as it overlaps the purple. Because this helps. Like, if you brought the purple all the way into the corner of your eye, which you absolutely could do, it could, like, really close your eyes off. I'm so sorry I keep messing with the lighting. It is just a thing. Does that work? Let's pull it back kind of in between the two. All right. What was I saying? So dark all the way in the corners of your eyes will kind of close your eyes off. Since my eyes slope anyway, I try to brighten the middle of my face and have it darker going out. So once again, tapping in there, not piling it on. I'm going to hold it this way. This is where, usually the pinky thing I think I do for eyeliner. But going into the corner, tilting my head back because I can't close that eye. And ever so gingerly blending it into our purple. Trying to get more in the corner there. All right. So, this is still a hot mess, but I want to get the darker color in there now in the outer V, pulling that, like forcing that to recede, but also kind of pulling the eye up. So I'm going to be using this dark purple. Now Nate, I think you have a dark brown, and that should work okay too. Just whatever darkest color you have, or next to darkest color that you have, do that. So I'm gonna do the fluffy brush for this one. Why am I doing that? For one, it's easier to get like in the corner there. We call it the outer V. It's called the outer V because it's whoop-boo. I like that sound effect. Whoop-boo. It's just a V right there. So I'm using, and this is the brush I know that you have, except yours is shimmery. I'm using what's called the smudge brush. I was gonna, you know what? No. I said I was gonna use the other one. Danny, why? See, I haven't done makeup in a second. It's been a while. All right, fluffy brush. Here we go. Imprecise, easy to get in the corner. So, raising eyebrows, tilting. And just super lightly. This is another situation where we want to build up. We don't want to just bathe the eye in dark purple, because that is way harder to fix than slowly building up. And like, I'm not blending here. If you can see, I'm just tapping it in. Of course you can't see on camera 2. Which may not end up being camera 2. I have no idea what's gonna happen until I like sit down to edit. Because I don't have an editing team. Ba-dum-dum. Alright, so going into the other one. And tappity tap tap tap. So I will likely end up adding a little bit more of this in the corner, but I just kind of want to get something there first. So I see a problem between the two eyes. Again, they're different shapes. So this eye, I close them, it kind of pulls and has this nice little arc, whereas this eye like seems like it's dipping a little bit. So I'm scrubbing my fluffy brush because I want it to be nice and clean. And I'm gonna go back over here to blend. I know there hasn't been a whole lot of blending yet, but prepare for obnoxious levels of blending. So, and I'm still blending down. Pretty much the only time I blend up is if I'm working with that transition shade at the very beginning. So this is kind of, it looks straight on, but since my head is tilted, it is pointing down a little bit. That's a little better. A little bit. Thought I heard my giant back there. Scrubbing the brush again. This is acceptable for now. So I think what I'm going to do is take a little bit of that transition shade and blend. And this time I'll do it more straight on. But because that line is so harsh and I want it to diffuse a lot better. So more straight on than from above. Ugh. How can I do? Does that light up my face? Sure. Okay, so it looks a lot more blended out in person than it does on camera. So that's always fun. I understand more fully now why people do like overblown makeup for camera versus, you know, in person. So I'm gonna call it done on that eye for now. This is where the endless blending happens. I'm kind of pulling my mirror here because I really want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Just gently back and forth. Forever. Okay, that's blending out. All right. But the whole I can't see thing yet presents a problem. So I'm gonna take that microfiber cloth and just go on the corners and kind of dab, because I want that area to be a little cleaner. And we're going to go in with concealer in a little bit and make it cleaner, but because that's a cheat too. I know there's like proper technique so you don't have to use cheats, but given spoony status and all of that, I'm gonna go with what gets the job done most quickly. So, oh, that's not bad. All right, so I'm going back in with our sparkly purple, and this time I am going to use my finger, but I'm only putting it on like the center of my lid. I'm not going up at all into the crease, none of that. So finger, doop do 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 do, behold, very dark finger. Head back, look down, and pat. Man, I wish that the vibrancy of this picked up on camera more. Which it would have if I had gotten to record earlier. Right, I'm gonna take a clean finger here to blend in that inner corner. So once again, do 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 do, super dark finger. This is the harder one because it's the eye that I can barely reach. And pat, 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 pat. And that actually blended okay into what I have in the inner corner right now. So I'm gonna wipe this off on my microfiber towel here. It doesn't have to be microfiber, just anything. You want to keep your hands clean, because it would really suck if you were applying your foundation with your hands and you forgot that you had a ring finger full of purple. Like, that would ruin your day, I promise. All right, that is acceptable. And now I'm going in with the smudge brush. The smudge brush is the other side of your fluffy brush here. If you don't have a smudge brush, or if you're not sure what it is, it's like your flat brush, but like your flat brush's little brother, you know? So I'm going in with that dark purple again. But this time, I'm going to sort of draw where I want it. So, starting on that corner, pulling up a little bit. And honestly, I might need a darker shade to really properly like get the depth that I want. But I'm a C first. And I'm still having the problem where one is rounded and one is not. And this is usually where I end up screwing myself, because I'm like, it needs to be rounded, and I'll just straight up draw it on. And then it'll be like, no, that's too dark. And then I have even more hours of blending ahead of me. I do myself wrong. And I do it anyway. Because that doesn't look like it's too dark to me. Granted, I can't see too well, so. All right. Last bit of blending for a while. Because I want to diffuse that out. And this is more of a scrubbing motion than a blending, because I want to be a little harsher. And if you can see, I'm holding it in the middle now rather than the end, because I want to really concentrate on the area that I'm blending. And I'm going out from the corner where it's darkest and pulling up and over. That's acceptable. Okay. let's call it right now for eyeshadow, because we're gonna go to eyeliner next. And I know Nate said that they have a problem with eyeliner. So I'm gonna do it with, because I don't think I even have a liquid liner anymore. Liquid liners stress me out. So I'm going to do it with eyeshadow and show you how to do that momentarily.